Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. Today on Bones Collector, we're continuing our series where Lori and I are playing our way through our board gaming library. So we're going to play a couple of games, 2 or 3 games each week, and make a video about it and pass it on to you, and I hope you enjoy them. Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector, and today Lori and I just got done playing Yamatai 4 times in a row. And Yamatai is a game that came out in 2017. It was published by Days of Wonder. It's an action selection, contract fulfillment, and network building game, and the winning condition is most points. It is designed by Bruno Cathala and Mark Paquin, and the art is by Jeremy Fleury because it's a beautiful game, let me tell you. We have had this game since, I think we got it 2017. And Days of Wonder does a wonderful job publishing, and this is a beautiful, you got a nice insert and everything fits in the box wonderfully. Nice, tight, tucked away. And the cover art on this box is absolutely fabulous. This is one of the prettiest box covers that we have, I think. It's just absolutely gorgeous to look at. The box could have been thicker. It's not bad though. It's pretty nice. Again, Days of Wonder does a tremendous job with their board games. But I absolutely love playing this game. We had to let 5 Tribes go, because we love 5 Tribes a lot, but we decided to pick. I mean, you can't keep every board game, no matter if they're great or not. But we had to get rid of 5 Tribes, which I still love. I still have a place in my heart for 5 Tribes. But Yamatai is an action selection, uses an action selection mechanism to play this game. Now, in a 2-player game, you're going to have to use orange and turquoise because it's the only 2 colors with enough buildings. And then you each have 2 meeples, and you're going to place those meeples on these fleet tiles, they're called, and that's going to be your action when you select that. Now, when you take that action, you're going to take the ships that it shows on your fleet tile, and then it has a little action to take also, an additional action, so that when you're planning of which fleet tiles you want to take, you're not only thinking about what ships you need to build your route, and I'll tell you how that works in a second, but you're also thinking about the action that's on this fleet tile. And then in addition to that, you're thinking about when you want to go in the next round, because when you place your meeples on these tiles and you make your selections, there's a number at the bottom of the tile. This one has a 7 on it, and you're going to go in sequential order in the next round. So if you want to go first, you're thinking that you might want to select a weaker action, because the higher the number on those tiles, the better the action. So you might want to select a weaker action just so you can get your nose in first on the next round. If you see something that you want to do badly to score some points, you might want to think about that when you're choosing your actions. And so that's very, very, very cool. And then whichever tile doesn't get chosen stays there. You remove the other 4. And then these action tiles, new action fleet tiles, will slide down. You flip them over in the next round, like that. And then the ones that were used before get filled up to on the right spaces here. And you're going to start your action selection all over again. So when you are choosing these fleet tiles, when you get your ships, you're going to place ships on one of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starting spaces. And you can place any color ship there that you want. But as those are added to, your next turn, once a ship is of a certain color is on that starting space, you have to play a ship of that color in order to connect to that route. And then any ships after that can be any color. But if you had some ships, and you get tons of wooden ships, just a wonderful production in this game. You get tons of wooden ships, big, thick building tiles that you're going to build. These are called specialist tiles. These are very beautiful. I mean, the art on these things are absolutely magnificent. Just wonderful. The board is beautiful. You have these culture tokens on the board that are nice. These mountain tiles that assist you in scoring some extra points. And these fleet tiles are very thick also. The only thing is your player mats are just paper. Well, thick paper. But they're very nicely designed because it has a place for you to store your ships over here and your coins that you're going to be earning during the game. And then it walks you through your turn completely. And you will finish your turn completely before the next player takes their turn. So you can see on here it tells you to make your action selection on the fleet tiles. Then at this point, the second thing you have to do is buy or sell a ship. Now you're planning on what you need to accomplish maybe a contract, or you want your route to go farther so that you can select some of these culture tokens, because you trade the culture tokens in for these specialist tiles. You have to have 2 of one color or 3 different colors in order to select one of those action tiles. And these are very nice. They can win you the game. So you have to keep an eye on those. If you see some that you want to make sure that you do what you have to do because once you buy and sell ships, let me back up. Once you buy and sell ships, then on number 3 here, and then it walks you through by number. Number 3 is you're going to place the ships on the board. Then you have to choose whether you're going to build one of your standard buildings, whether you're going to build a palace, whether you're going to build a torii, what these big chunky wooden special buildings, prestige buildings I think they're called. And then it tells you how to score when you place one of those buildings. So you can either build or select culture tokens on your turn, and then you get special compensation depending how you do that. And then this is a little storage space in number 4. Any ships you have left over, you put in that little blue circle, and if you have 2 ships left over, it's -1 point at the end of the game. So you want to make sure you don't do that, because games are pretty tight in this. And then in the 5th spot here, it has, you can change your culture tokens that you picked up during your turn for one of these specialist tiles. And you can do that even when you build. So you can always do that step number 5. If you happen to have collected some culture tokens and have them saved up over here, you can build on your turn, and then on the last step, buy a specialist tile. So that is very handy. Now, look how beautiful in the back too. I mean, this is a gorgeous game. And I think about this game and what it's like for this year that it came out, 2017, and what games are like today. And I'll talk about that in a second. But as you're building across this board, building your network of routes, your route and your network in here, you're trying to make a plan for developing the colors that you need in these ships, because every one of these building tiles has a requirement for you to have that particular island surrounded by those ships. If you haven't played this game, I hope you have, because this game is absolutely fantastic. So you're trying to build your network to get the color ships that you need in order to make those things happen on the board, because these are a lot of points. This is one of those games where you have to do a little bit of everything. You have to get specialist tiles. You have to build your network so that you can build buildings. You have to get culture tokens in order to get the specialist tiles. So you have to do a little bit of everything, because these specialist tiles can help you in so many different ways. At the end of the game, you get 1 point for every $5. Well, one of these specialist tokens changes that to 3. And that's a huge difference in this game. In this game, that's very important. You can buy and sell ship privileges. Here you can trade in a culture token for one of the yellow ships, gold ships they are, and those are the most rare, because when you want to build one of these prestige buildings, the tories or the palaces, I think every one of those tiles has a yellow ship on them. So you have to have those yellow ships to do those big point tiles. And then once you're building or get these tories and palaces on the board, if you can build your standard buildings next to those, you get a bonus for doing that. You get one of these fans. They're called, I think, prestige points, prestige fans or something. And those are really nice. You get a whole ton of those in the game. And then you can also, one of the actions on these tiles are these sacred ground tokens. And if you see somebody making a pathway with their buildings, because every time you connect your buildings on these islands, you get to a bonus. So you don't want people to build a line of their color on the board, and the way to stop that is to take one of the actions on these tiles, like it's number 5 here, and you get a yellow ship, and you get to place a sacred ground token, and you can pick one of these islands out here and put that token on there and block their path, and that comes in very handy in this game. It's a little bit interactive, but just a little bit. So it's no big deal. They're just going to have to switch. And most of the time, they could build on a bordering island and maybe even get that done after that. But you can mess with them a little bit doing that. So there's various actions on here, and you have to think about all of these. And because they can help you, and they're so powerful, because the decision making that goes into this is pretty deep. I mean, you're trying to ask yourself, what color of ships do I need, what is the action on the fleet tile, and when do I want to go in the next round. So all those three things all kind of come together in the decision at the beginning of the round when you're looking to place your meeple on one of these fleet tiles to take your action. So it's a pretty cool game. I mean, I absolutely love this game. But here's the thing, I think that of all the games that came out in 2022, this would still be in the top 5. I've watched so many games played. I've played almost 40 games from 2022, and this would be in my top 5 because it has a great board game designer, Bruno Cathala. There aren't very many great board game designers. There's a lot of good board game designers out there, and they did a lot of board games in 2022. And they just steal a bunch of mechanics from other games and other people and really don't do anything fresh. But people like that sometimes, and as long as they overproduce it, they're infatuated with it. This is a game that just feels fresh every time you play it. And it takes a little bit of getting used to because it's just, I mean, there's a lot to think about. It looks like a child's game. It reminds me of Quadropolis and Chimera Station both. They kind of have that childlike look to them in the art, but when you go to play them, they're just a nice, thinky puzzle to put together. They're not for children, for sure. And I really, really love Quadropolis. It's way up there in my probably top 20 of all-time games. You know, I guess my point is, don't always look at things that are new in board gaming, because if you just take a few steps back, you might find something that's not just as good, but probably better. I think board gaming is getting to a point where the saturation is pretty big. There's just so many board games come out every year, and I don't know. It just flabbergasts me to even think about it. How many board games came out in 2022? And then I look at my own library. We went to a local game store here the other night, and I looked around at all the new games that they had, all this glitter and glam, and I told Lori, I don't see a game in here that could make our library. You know, and I've got 170 board games in this house right now, so I'm getting up there to quite a few. But it's very difficult to be able to make our library because, you know, we have a certain standard of excellence when we're looking for a board game that fit our needs. Things that play great at 2-player, things that we can set up and play in 60 to 90 minutes. You know, I always say I like it around an hour, but we'll play a 90-minute game if it's really, really good. And we don't like to go over that, though. I don't like real table hogs. This one, you know, it doesn't eat the table. You know, everything's pretty close and you can see it very clearly. There's not a lot of iconography in this game. This is a game that's approachable and accessible. Well, it's approachable for everyone. It's not very accessible. I understand it's out of print, yeah, and it's not going to be reprinted as far as anybody is a Days of Wonder is concerned. It would be very expensive to reprint. So if you find a copy of this and somebody willing to get rid of it, you know, grab it, because you won't be sorry. It's an absolutely beautiful game to look at, and it's a wonderful game to play, and it's just a lot of fun. Like I said, we just got done playing it 4 times in a row, and it's just a gas to play it. It's so good. And again, it's Bruno Cathala, the author of Abyss, Ishtar, 5 Tribes, and now this year's Orichalcum, which was tied for my top game of 2022 with Merchants of the Dark Road. And that Orichalcum, if you have not played it, it is an absolute instant gem. And we've just played it, and it's hard for me to just not throw that thing down the table constantly because it's just so wonderful to play. But this guy, Bruno Cathala, absolutely is a wonderful board game designer. He's one of the greats, and very few designers can put out great games with consistent effort, with consistent quality, with consistent game design. There's very few of them out there. I can name them, but there's very few. And so when Bruno Cathala or somebody like that puts out a board game, I'm going to check it out. As soon as I heard Bruno Cathala did a game called Orichalcum, I was like, what? And I started checking it out and looking on YouTube, and I was like, oh my gosh. And instantly, I knew I was going to love it. And so we went out and grabbed it and brought it home, and we couldn't stop playing it. And Yamatai is right there with Orichalcum. It has that feel of Bruno Cathala. Again, if you love Abyss, if you love 5 Tribes, if you have played Orichalcum and love it, if you love Ishtar, which is, by the way, an underrated game, it's plays wonderfully at 2 players, and I just love it. What a great puzzle that game is. But man, Yamatai is right there with the best of them. I'm never getting rid of this game, and I wanted to tell you about it because we just got done playing it, and it's in our library, and it's here to stay. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. And do me a favor, please, if you would hit the like button and let me know what you think about Yamatai, or if you've come across it, if you've played it, and if you had any questions about this game and the strategy involved in it, or the rules, any kind of rules questions you may have, just please make a comment on the video. We love to interact with all of you folks out there. We love hearing from you, and we try to get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Sometimes it just takes us a while because we're doing this, you saw this video commercial free, just like all our videos. So hey, yeah, that's it for the Bones Collector today, and I don't know what game we're going to pair this with, but I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Bones Collector, commercial free I might add. And today Lori and I just got done playing a game we've had for quite a while called Touria. Touria came out in 2016. It's a 2 to 4 player game. It's by Inca and Marcus Brand and Michael Reineck. It was a collaboration of those 3. They are the designers of Raja the Ganges and Village, Spiel des Jahres winner. So very good board game designers. And they have some other titles under their belt. I think Michael Reineck teamed up with Stefan Feld to do Merlin, and he also did a game, small box game that we have in our library called Santiago de Cuba, which plays very well, solid game. But Touria is not, this is a game that's light, and it's not real popular, and of course it never did do anything as far as popularity was concerned. And I never could understand it because we really enjoy it. And we bought this game, and you can buy this game for $10. We got this at a flea market, at a convention, and somebody had it for 10 bucks, and we bought it and brought it home and played it and really liked it. And it's just the box is, it's substantial, it's okay. Pretty decent box. The art is by Clemens Franz, so you might recognize this art. He's the artist for Griechenland, did a lot of Uwe Rosenberg stuff, and he is very well known in the board gaming industry. This is a pick up and deliver game with point-to-point movement, and you use a community avatar. He always reminds me of the Wizard of Oz because it's all these buddies, they're moving together. And the winning condition is to find the castle door with the prince and princess on it. And that's, you are going to marry, whichever you happen to want to marry, you get to marry the prince or the princess once you turn over that castle door. So here's how this game works, and here's why I really like this game, is the action selection mechanism in this game. You have these 4 towers on the board, and these are nice thick cardboard towers, and depending on where you sit, you're going to have one side of 4 of those towers facing you. So you have 4 towers, and one side of each tower will face you. So that's 4 different actions you have the choice to take on your turn. And when you do take that action, whichever you select, whichever action you select, then it has arrows on the top, and you will spin that tower once you've taken that action. So these are constantly moving. Now if you have 4 players, of course, they're really moving all the time, and that would be pretty interesting. I've never played this game before, but Lori and I love it too, and we really enjoy it. And there's 8 different actions you can take on these 4 towers. And there's one on each side, and they're spinning all the time that the players are playing the game. Every time they take an action, they declare their action, which tower they're going to use, and then it spins. So you're trying to manipulate those towers to get the action that you want. And there's a lot of times in this game that you're not going to be able to do that. However, there's some mitigation because you can pay one of these swords to spin the tower before you declare your action. So you can do that, and I did that in the game we just finished playing because I had to go to this location to get rid of a black gem because you can't have any when you go to the castle, and one wasn't visible. My tower was like this, so I paid a sword, had it turn to the fountain fairy. And that's this location here where you can discard a black gem and go to the, and then you can go to the castle, because it says on the board, in order to get to the castle, you can't have any black gems. You have to have 7 money and 7 hearts, And that's what you're doing in this game. You're going to these different locations that have different actions, and you're trying to acquire 7 hearts, which I have, and 7 money. And that allows you entrance into the castle, and all these castle doors, there's 9 of them, will be turned face down, and then you start turning them over. Once you declare that you're going to the castle, you no longer have to move the avatar. You have your screen, your player screen in front of you. I just dropped a gem on the floor. You have your player screen in front of you, and you say, okay, I'm going to the castle, I have what I need. When you're turning these over, if you want to continue on, like I came, the way we just finished this game, I was the first one, I went to the castle, and you have these player shields in your color. I went to the castle and I started turning over these doors. Well, the first one I turned over was a coin. It wasn't the prince and princess, so I turned over the coin, and I have one, so I paid my coin. And the second tile I turned over was elixir token. Well, I had kept mine, I hadn't spent it, and it's this thing here. And that elixir token allows you to copy another player's turn. I saved it up because I knew it was on these tiles, and once you get used to this game, you know what's in there. So I saved up and I spent that. And then the next thing I turned over, the next door, was a blue gem. And I looked at my stuff and I didn't have one. I had everything else. I had every color of gem. I did not have blue. And I didn't notice that when I went to the castle, but I don't think it would have made a difference to me because I had everything else. And what are the chances that I'm going to turn up a blue gem to stop my turn? But guess what? I did. And on the very next, Lori's very next turn, she went to the castle, and everything she turned up, she had. She had a yellow gem, she turned that up. She turned up this green gem, she had it. She turned up the red gem, she had it. And her very next door she opened was the prince and princess, and she won it. And that's how this game ends up. You're going to have to ask yourself, because you can go there with nothing. You can go there, as long as you got 7 hearts and 7 money, you can go to the castle. And pray to God you're going to flip up the 1 out of 9 tiles at the prince and princess. And if you don't, then you stop. And the next player is going to take a turn, and you can turn over another door on your next turn. But if you have none of the items you need, you're going to turn over 1 door at a time. I guarantee you're not going to win the game. So you want to take some stuff with you. And the only thing, out of 9 doors, which would have been 8 items that I would have turned over, I was missing 1 item. And sure enough, I turned it over, and I had to stop, and Lori snuck in and stole the victory from me. And so it was really cool, and we have a great time playing this game. It's so much fun. I love this action selection mechanism. It's so cool, and you're just traveling around doing different things, like at these different locations where you're going to trade in gems, and at this location, and get hearts for your gems, or you can trade in a gem for a coin, or trade in gems for hearts. This location, you can come up and complete these contract tiles where you trade in different colored gems for money, because you need $7 to get into the castle at the end of the game. And then you're going to need money during the game, because when you're moving your avatar, this is a community avatar, and when you're moving that avatar, you can only go 3 spaces or less. And if you want to go more than that, it costs you $1 to go 4 spaces. And there is a fairy tile that will give you plus 3 steps, which I had. And so there's different ways to mitigate that handcuff that keeps you at 3 spaces or under. Because there's going to be times when you're going to want to go to a location because that's what's available on the towers and you can't get there. And so you're going to have to pay. So you need coins. But you have to put 7 in reserve in order to get into the castle. So you're going to these different locations doing that stuff. The dragon location, if you go there, you roll this die, and if you roll this die and you turn up a yellow, if you have a yellow gem behind your screen, which I do, you can turn that in and get a heart. If you go to this location, you can turn in one of these swords to get a heart. If you want to go to this location, you have to use the wizard action on the tower, and you can spend $1 and go to any location, but it's the only way you can get to the wizard location to turn in a sword and get a heart. And then as you travel around this board, you're going to go through these gem mines, and you're going to pick up gems off of them and put those behind your player screen, because that's a resource exchange thing. You're going to spend them on these tiles, you're going to spend them on hearts here, and you're going to need them to go into the castle because there's gems on the other side of these castle doors. And this location is called the Thief, and you can draw 3 gems out of the draw bag and keep 1. And then as you're going through these gem mines, there's a black gem on this in this mine section. If you go across, you have to travel across that. You have to take both those gems. So you get the one gem that you can use to exchange, and the black gem is going to go behind your player screen, and you have to get rid of that before you go to the castle, because it has 0 right on the board. You cannot have any black gems. Yeah. And this game is so light. It's light and breezy, and every time we play it, we have a good time. It takes about 45 minutes once you're used to this game to play, and that's a perfect time frame to have just a really good time. Again, this action selection mechanism, I wish I'd see that in more. I can't believe I don't see it in more games. It's really cool. I mean, and I imagine with 3 and 4 players, it might get pretty interesting to try to manipulate those towers to get what you want, because people are spinning them all the time. You're trying to make a plan, and it's almost impossible. That bothers a lot of people. They can't make long-term plans because this is going to change constantly. When someone takes an action, that tower is going to spin. And in a 2-player game, it's not too bad, but I imagine a 3 and 4-player game, that'd get pretty crazy. And you wouldn't know how to plan your turn. But you just have to do the best for what the game gives you. And I enjoy that. About Touria. And again, Inca and Marcus Brand, a couple of my favorite board game designers. I mean, Raja the Ganges and Village, I just absolutely adore. And this game is just charming. There's no other way to describe it. It's not hard, it's not complex, but it's one of those games, when you get done playing it, you're going to say, man, that was a good time. Let's play that again. Because it is. It's fun. And I just looked on the Geek Market before I did this video, and there's a couple are for sale on the Geek Market for $15. Now you'd have to pay shipping, but my point is, if you go to a convention that's close to you, if you go to a board game convention, they usually have a flea market, and they usually maybe have a virtual flea market, and you can probably pick this game up for a song, like we did. It was brand new, played once, and we play it a lot, and every time we get it out, I look forward to it, because you can play it 2 or 3 times in a row, and it always turns out differently, and it's a push your luck, man. I mean, once you get your 7 money and your 7 hearts, and you're looking at the rest of their stuff behind your screen, you're like, well, I've got 3 of the gems. I've got green, yellow, and red. I don't have blue. You might have 3 of the 4. You might have 2 of the 4 gems. Maybe you want to press your luck if you just got 2 of them. Maybe you think, it's my lucky day. I'm going to go to the castle, and hopefully I don't have a blue and I don't have a red gem, but I've got a yellow and a green, and hopefully that'll get me through a couple of doors to where I can find the prince and princess. And there's other things you can do in this game to mitigate your turns. And when you grab these purple gems, you play that, and you can repeat your action. So you can take 2 turns in a row, essentially, is what you're doing. And then you have an elixir tile that will let you copy the actions of another player. And there's a fairy tile that will let you do that also. All right, there's some really cool benefits on these fairy tiles, and you want to go get them, because you're going to need 1 extra fairy tile, because it's on the back of these doors. Right there, it says you need a fairy tile in order to continue on your turn. So you're going to have to ask yourself, how many items do I want to take into the castle? Do I feel lucky? Because I tell you what, one time I went in with maybe, I think I had very little, and I turned the prince and princess over on my second turn. So that was pretty cool. So I mean, usually when I play this game, I err on the side of caution. I take more than I probably need to take in there, because it's frustrating, like I say, when you go to the castle first, and the only thing I was missing was the blue gem out of all 8 items that I would have had to produce to keep going. And lo and behold, I turned it up and had to stop, and she swooped in and got the victory. So that was pretty cool. And we laugh. It's the type of thing you laugh about because it's cool. I mean, that's cool and fun. And you don't have, if it was 3 hours we had invested in this game and that happened, I'd be livid. But we played for 35, 45 minutes, and it's a light area fair, and you're just having a good time moving around. And you
won the game we played before this.
And I did win the one we played before this. So we had split victories there. But it's a lot of fun. I want to tell you guys about it. There is enough here to keep the game fresh and interesting, especially with these spinning towers for your action selection. If you have any questions, if you pick this game up and you have any question about the rules or whatever, leave us a comment and we'll get back to you about it. I mean, there's nothing hard about it, but I would be glad to answer any questions you have about this game. And then it also has on the board, I told you, you have to have 0 black gems, 7 money, 7 hearts to get to the castle. There's a tile that comes with this, and it goes on here, and it has 0, 5, 5. So it's a quicker game. Especially if you're just learning the game, you might want to use that tile and just get 5 money and 5 hearts to get into the castle. And then on the other side of that tile, it tells you that all the players except the first player get to start with one of these items, either a sword, a money, or a gem of their choice, other than purple, because purple gives you an extra turn, and you're not going to. The game's not going to give you that. But you could have one of the other 4 colors. So that's good to know that's in the bag. And it comes with player aids. These nice, chunky, thick player. Man, they're nice. You know, thick player aids that have your turn order on there. Let's see. You
gotta find the ones.
I gotta find the English. They're in a bunch of different languages. Yeah, it has your game turn on there, and then on the other side, it has your some of the fairy tiles from the Forest Fairy, and it explains to you what they do. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that is Touria. There's, it's not a lengthy explanation or anything, but it is a lot of fun if you're just like us, where you just want to play a fun board game sometimes, where you don't want to have to really work that hard. This is just a light affair that's lots of fun, and we keep it in our library for that reason. I want to tell you about it, and thanks for watching, and keep on board gaming, because it's the best hobby on the planet. I love every one of you. See you next time on The Bones Collector. Bye-bye.